What's up, guys? It's Lexi with Lexi Reads, and I'm here with another read for you guys. Alright, so whenever I found this book, I also found it with my short story that kind of goes into that series, my short story series. This book and a list of other books that I've been wanting to start a series on are banned books series. So whenever I found this book at the library, totally random find, I knew it was something that I had to do. So I checked it out. It's called Animal Farm. And whenever I was picking out books to read for this series, I knew I wanted to pick out books that, I wanted to make sure to pick out books that were classics. Animal Farm, this was the first time that I had read this book. A lot of people, whenever I was looking up reviews about it, a lot of people had said that they had read it in school. My school did not read this book. Not that I remember anyway. I remember Diary of Anne Frank I read in middle school, and Lord of the Flies I read in high school. So those are the only two books that I remember reading while in school. So this book was really new to me. I kind of knew a general idea of what it was about. The animals want a new life. They want to be treated more fairly. They wanted to be treated better by their current owners. And so they pulled off a rebellion to replace their ownership with their own kind, with other farm animals. They felt like that was most fair because those animals knew what it was like. Little did the animals know that they were just replacing one bad guy for another. And that's kind of how the story goes on. And it tells about some of the animals realizing, being like, oh, this doesn't feel right. And then being told, oh, it's just your imagination, you don't remember what it was like, this is how it's always been, this is better. And so there's a lot of gaslighting in this book. And it was like every page was something. There were definitely moments in the book where I was just like, or I was really kind of emotional over a character. It definitely brought out the feels, it brought out deep thinking, you know. A lot of the things that go on in the book can be taken in several different ways. Not to be too political, but like the government, which is I think what the book was originally based on, like a Russian Revolution, kind of was leaning that way anyway, but I took it as not just like that did it cross my mind, but it also crossed my mind in toxic relationships, any kind of relationship. You know, it can be challenging and you can come across these individuals that are not always meant to be the right fit. And so it's just kind of like thinking about that and other things that may have happened to you that you can kind of relate to. So I found that really interesting. This book was that it could go into many aspects of one's life or one's thinking pattern than just one specific thing. One sentence may read and you first think of, for example, the government. And then you think about it for a little bit and you're like, oh, actually, it can actually relate to this toxic relationship too. That's what I loved about this book, that it really could make you deep think about things that are going on in this book and kind of relate it to life. That's what I loved most about this book. I didn't dislike anything about it other than it's definitely not like a feel-good book at all. It's not a book that I would have picked out to read for funsies. It's definitely a book that takes a lot of deep thinking into consideration when reading it, and you kind of have to go in with that type mindset because it's definitely not a funsy book. I'm trying to think of like my favorite part of this book, and I think something that I related to most about this book was one character taking really to heart the work that he was doing, literally working himself to death. It was day in, day out, he was doing this job. In the end, he never got rewarded for it. That's kind of how I thought and took into consideration relationships, jobs, putting out so much effort and work and love and energy and thought into something and then never getting rewarded for it or benefiting from it or feeling rewarded in that job that he was doing. I really kind of honed in on that, and I took that into a lot of consideration, and it really made me stop and think and kind of reflect on. I would give this book a 3.5 out of 5. It's a good book to, if you like, to think, to reflect, to kind of recognize different aspects of the book. This book is definitely a deep thinking book. I would not have read this book for funsies, but I'm glad I did read it because it did kind of opened up my mind a little bit to thinking a little bit more about relationships and things along those lines. 3 out of 5. I recommend reading it. It's not a bad book. It's really good. It's just not a funsy book, but it is good. I'm trying to decide what books to read next. I have a whole list of different books that I want to read. Trying to decide between Diary of Anne Frank or Lord of the Flies. Now, I said earlier in this video that I've read both of them already, like, in school. But I've been graduated for a while now, and honestly back then, I didn't care about reading as much as I do now. And so I'd like to be able to go back and read it with a different mindset and a different thinking process. So I'm trying to decide between those two books. Leave a comment down to which one I should read and which ones you want to hear a review about or opinions about. Don't forget also to like and subscribe to my channel and to this video. I really enjoy doing this, and that's all I have for you guys, and thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a good day.